People who quit their jobs on the first day. What was your "I'm outta here" moment? When the microwave in the lunchroom was coin activated. Worked in a hotel for a day. No one told me where anything was. Got chewed out for it. Guests enjoying their meals told me to pay no mind, I was doing a good job and that my boss is a cunt. I told the manager that I was quitting and wouldn't be doing the next shift. I arrived the next day, returning a work uniform, and my supervisor approached me and yelled at me for being late. I told her I already quit, but if I was working, technically I was 5 hours early for my shift. Absolute nutcases. The not getting told how to something then getting told off for doing it wrong thing happened to me. I was so mad. Got told to put something on shelves by checkout. Asked if there's any specific way it needs to be done. Get told no, idiot, it's not hard, you just put as much as you can fit on the shelf. Stack stuff on shelf. Why didn't you follow protocol around displaying stuff here? You have to count exactly how many you use for stock control and display them a certain way. Thought that one was a one-off, but the next day I asked what I should be doing after a busy period. There's nothing to do for a bit. Make us all coffee to practice using the machine. Halfway through making coffee, why haven't you done really important job? You don't have time to be taking coffee breaks. This was my trainer versus the manager. Turns out the trainer didn't want someone else working with her, so she sabotaged me and set me up for the manager to catch me doing the wrong things she told me to do. I told them they clearly have some issues to work out among themselves and quit. I got a job at a Build-A-Bear knockoff at the end of a mall that wasn't very busy. My interview with the owners was interesting. They were an older couple who said that they had wanted to open a chick father-in-law, but you need about $1 million to do that. My first day, one other girl was working, and she didn't really talk to me. I had basically no training, and she disappeared into the back. I was standing at the register area, which was underneath a giant storybook mushroom. A mother and her young son walk in and start to look at the bearskin options. I greeted them and left them to look around. They ended up leaving after a couple minutes, and my coworker reappeared from the back with the cordless phone and handed it to me. It was my boss. He told me that when a customer walks in, he wants me to come out from under the mushroom to them. Come out! From the mushroom! After he finished speaking to me, I hung up and went to my coworker and asked about the phone call. She said the place has cameras set up and the owners watch them from their house and call in a lot. I did not come back to work after that day. Fast food chain. I was 17. I found out during training that the place had been robbed 3 times in the past month, and one employee was seriously injured. Not worth the $5 per hour. Took a summer job at a textile plant, and the trainer said, "Forget about taking a break if you want to stay caught up." Applied for a job at my longtime favorite restaurant, celebrated my birthday there every year. Owner asks me to come in for basically a tryout. As I communicated, I was looking at other job possibilities. I come in and they just stick me on dishwashing for an hour, no biggie. Then their dishwasher doesn't show up, so the kitchen manager asks me to stay one for their lunch rush. Saya, I'll get paid for the hours. I do. Kitchen staff was nice, so I was happy to help out even though I figured I'd be taking a different job. I fill out a time card at the end of the shift and tell the manager I probably wouldn't be back. He understands and thanks me for the help. Fast forward a couple weeks and he tells me to email the owner after I ask him if I should pick up my measly paycheck. I do. She basically tells me to fuck off over text. Tells me it was staging, and that she told me I wouldn't be paid. I respond that I understand that, but that I stayed an extra 3 hours which I was told I'd be paid for. She stops responding. I decide I want to be petty over the $40, so I get the staff labor department involved. Dude goes in there and makes her pay me for the hours including the first staging hour. Couple weeks later I got my $40. Never went back to that restaurant. How I see it 2 years later. Am very glad I did this, and sharing this story with others in my city. I learned this practice was very common with local restaurants. Hopefully others learn to stand up for their labor too from my small experience. My very first job was at a little drive-in restaurant close to my high school. I showed up to work the first day. The lady said I had to pay her $50 for training. She showed me around the place and said that my pay would be $4.50 hour as a car hop. This was in 2010, and all the tips I made went into a bucket with all the other girls' tips. At the end of the night, she counted up tips, kept 20% for herself, and split the rest up evenly among every employee. Also, part of our job was 1 day a week we had to spend 4 hours cleaning her house. It seemed super shady. I literally left after listening to her go over all these rules. My dad was pissed until I explained, and another girl confirmed, and my dad agreed I did the right thing. Shady and highly illegal. Tip pooling is legal but is supposed to be only with other tipped employees. Her skimming 20% off the top is not legal. Pretty sure you can't charge someone to train them for a job you hired them for. I was hired at a chain restaurant to be a hostess. I was so excited because my last job was washing dishes, and because of my eczema, I had to quit. It was too painful to do that job. So, I arrived at my new job dressed up to be a hostess, and those mfers took me back to the kitchen to do dishes because the dishwasher just quit. I noped out of there real fast. Salesman for Kirby Vacuums. First sale call was to a single elderly woman who was supporting her son in hospital. They got us in the door by offering a free carpet clean as a demonstration. The supervisor training me pushed and pushed to make the sale until this old woman was in tears. Just as she was about to sign the paperwork, I asked if she actually wanted to vacuum, and she said it was lovely but she couldn't afford it. I took the paperwork away from her and said not to worry. Outside I told the supervisor I quit, to which he replied I would have been fired anyway. No love lost. I hung around for half an hour playing on my phone to make sure the supervisor left because he was a real piece of work. Not me, but I was training a new lifeguard. After our shift was mandatory staff training for our entire crew, where we practiced rescues. Once she found out we actually had to practice and go in the water, she just walked out. Not really sure what kind of job she thought she had signed up for. I knew someone like that. She tolerated the water and activity enough to get certified because she just wanted to work as a lifeguard. In her head, that just meant getting to wear the red sweater and playing on her phone in the sun all day while flirting with guys. She didn't last long. I technically quit before my first day. I got hired at a well-known gift store. I was hired with the understanding that I would work Saturdays, Sundays, and a grand total of 8 hours a week, so 2 4-hour shifts. Also at minimum wage. Not a problem with me, done that before. I would just pick up a part-time job for rest of the week. Nope, apparently that wasn't allowed. The manager thought that was a horrible thing and disrespectful to her. I should only work for them and only them, and I should have better control over my money if I can't survive on $64 a week before taxes. Yeah, didn't show up cause fuck that noise. She called pissed off that I wouldn't show up to such an opportunity. Ended up being a scam to try and get free labor. I went for a job interview as a security guard. A man and a woman asked me my name, asked me how strong I was, then hired me and asked me to start immediately. That started alarm bells ringing. 2 questions in an interview and I am employed and working with no discussion about anything else. They took me down to their warehouse, office interview was above it, and told me to start moving boxes from a shelf into a truck. I said hang on, the job is security not manual labor, and then they started getting really shitty with me and saying if you want the job then you need to do this as part of it. I was like yeah nah, I am out, and walked out. Total scam. There was no job and it really pissed me off because I could have gone to another interview at that time but choose to go there instead. I answered an ad for a babysitting job. I was already working on a casual basis but it was sporadic, so I thought some after-hours babysitting would be welcome extra cash. The couple were both in the military and proceeded to tell me that I would be staying in the spare room and looking after their 6-month-old child around the clock as well as doing the housework. I would have 1 day off every 2 weeks. They said it is cash in hand so I could sign on to the dole, unemployment benefit, to make up the rest of the money. I left on the spot. They wanted a live-in housemaid and nanny, not a babysitter, and they were not able to pay for one. Why they thought it was up to me to illegally collect the dole to subsidize them, I don't know. Shitty motel gig in Raleigh, no contact when I was young and desperate for a job, any job. Came in to relieve the cigarette hag overnight lady who told me about the bed she kept beneath the counter, which rooms had the prostitutes, and which rooms were for the genuinely lost tourists, how not to give out towels to certain people because they had 10+ people to a room and they were trying to get them to leave. While she was talking to me, one of the prostitutes came up and paid her with sweaty boob money. Also, they expected me to do laundry in the back room in between babysitting the front desk. Also to watch out for stray needles or paraphernalia in the sheets. I overheard a man in the lobby on the phone, talking about how he had a friend who was in jail and he was going to hire him to kill his cousin who was in that same jail. All in between bites of bargain bin Fruit Loops from the continental breakfast. I left. They never sent me my check for working that day and I never called to get it. Young and naive right out of college took a marketing job. My interview was great, nothing shady seemed to be going on, and no immediate red flags. After 4 hours of training, my first day consisted of going door to door in a suburban town trying to sell cable to older people. We were told to dress for business, so I'm hiking around for miles in my best skirt, suit jacket, and heels. Hours were from 9 to 5, but we didn't get back to the business until well after 10 p.m. Not to mention, the person I was shadowing was able to make a sale to an older gentleman who seemed to have memory issues. I noped the fuck right out of there. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.